Hi, everybody. I want to begin this by thanking all of you for your incredible response to my last video in which I spoke about my teacher, Sister Barbara. Your response to that was so loving and so generous, and I want to tell you that she is recovering from COVID. So, again, I thank you so very much. Your kindness was overwhelming. And I sent word down there that she was being prayed for by hundreds and hundreds of people. Thank you. So, I wanted to just chat with you today about, I have lots of conversations about people who write in and they send me their thoughts and what they're up to and how the times that we are living in are influencing them. And I think there's a kind of an attitude. I don't like that word. There's kind of a feeling, a thought form that we dwell in, that we're waiting for the good old days to come back, that somehow this is going to end somehow, maybe, hopefully. Will it? When's the end? Is it going to be the end of the summer or maybe the fall? That we operate in seasons, that maybe it's going to stop. I think maybe not. I think we have to adjust our sights a little bit to realize that there is no end. There's only this journey. I mean, we're used to thinking in terms of we have a problem and there's a solution and we're going to get out of it. But this isn't a problem. I mean, COVID and the economy and the social changes that have erupted, these are not problems. They're huge eruptions of transformational predicaments that don't have solutions. So problems work like this. Here's a problem, and here's a solution, and then we're done. And I was used to that as a medical intuitive. Somebody would say, what's wrong with me? And get me out of it. And it's very much in the operating thing, like, if there's a problem, then tell me what to do, and here's my solution. What medicine, what this, and then I'll be done with it. That's not the world we live in anymore. You can't, for example, say, here's climate change, and here's a treaty, sign it. And then stop melting, you big glacier, stop melting. Everything that's happening is changing us. We can't change it. We have to accommodate to all the things happening around us. They're changing us. There's nothing that we can do to go out there and demand that stop. We can't demand the virus stop. We can't demand that all the eruption of centuries of rage and injustice just stop. It's coming at us like a tsunami. We can't stop this psychic archetypal reshuffling of power. It's all of this are forces that are changing us. And from that point of view, let me offer you this to think about. And that's that. I was on a conference, viral, I think you call it viral. I don't know what we call it. I have to catch up with the vocabulary. These Zoom conferences. And some participant said, I'm just exhausted with all of this. You can't get exhausted this early in the journey. You can't. It's not allowed. No. Let me offer you a perspective, because this isn't going to stop. One of the things I learned in healing is that it goes in stages. And what a person needs, what happens is when when the egg cracks, when a person finally gets to the point where they've had enough, when a society gets to the point where it has enough, where it's had enough, when the world gets to the point where it explodes with changes, and it's time, a revolution breaks out, an eruption happens. And that eruption, like a volcano, is filled with heat, and it just explodes. And in the explosion, a lot of things come down. Statues come down, and familiar forces come down. Buildings come down. It just happens. That's what happens when a volcano explodes. And, I hear a lot of people, there's a lot of comments like, they shouldn't have burned buildings down. They shouldn't have done that. You can't reason with a volcano. You just can't. You have to stand back. Just like when you are sick and you finally had enough and you explode, that's not the time I'm going to talk to you. I have to let you explode. I have to let you just scream and yell about what you've had enough. I've had enough. I've had enough of this. I've had enough of that. And you're going to say a lot of things you actually don't mean. You're going to explode and bring down a lot of things in your life that in the moment will be an exaggeration of what you really think, but all the fire has to come out. And what's really called for in that moment is witnessing. I just have to listen. I just have to witness. We just have to witness. But the important thing is the witness. And the second is that in the stage of eruption, a lot of people have to erupt. A lot of people are going to want to share their fire. I think a lot of people didn't know about Black Wall Street, for example, in Tulsa, the slaughter of 300 African Americans 99 years ago. We should have known about that. Why didn't we know about that? It's extraordinary that we didn't know about that. Where did all that pain go? Where did all that injustice get packed away? Where is it? It's somewhere in the atmosphere. And it's going to come out. It's going to come out. It has to come out somewhere. Where's all the injustice of so much that's going to psychically come out as the power reshapes itself, as we reshape into a different understanding or a different approach to social justice that the younger generation is responding to. And they are responding to that. Make no mistake. They have taken up the call. They've taken up the call. And it's going to be a different world. This decade of the 20s is going to see social change like never before, because it will be social change, I suspect, not just within the United States, but perhaps on a global level. I mean, we have to buckle our seatbelts now. So my perspective that I want to offer you is that when I am talking to someone in a stage of healing, I try and once their personal pain comes out, if you stay in the level of personal, that it's all about your pain, you won't heal. You won't heal, because what happens is your story becomes one of, my story is more painful than yours, and you never get out of it. The goal is to get to the point where your story becomes one of the story of the evolution of humanity. What's happening is that we're witnessing and we are participants in the hopefully evolving to a very different quality of humanity in which all of us need to recognize this is the world we've all created. We've all created this. Somehow we've all participated in a world that's on fire. And we are all personally responsible for this in some way. And that we are intimately connected to this world. There's a difference in resonating to things intimately than personally. That it's kind of like the mother archetype. As I say to women in my workshops, motherhood was not created for you. The female body was not created for you. The experience of giving birth was not created for you. It is not yours personally. This human journey is not ours personally. There's nothing personal about it. All the pain that human beings have been through and are going through and are trying to evolve through, it's not personal, but it's intimate. When a woman gives birth, she has an intimate experience of what's not personal at all. The experience of birth is not personal, but it's intimate. It wasn't designed for any one woman. And yet when it's time for her to become a mother, that impersonal cycle of giving birth becomes intimate for her. In that same way, we are participating in perhaps the greatest activation of a collective cycle, passage of evolution that has ever happened. It's not a war. For the first time in history, the collective experience we are having is not a war. It's a pandemic. It's an economic pandemic. It is a power pandemic. It's a reshuffling of how all of us will engage with global life. And it has been brought about not because of a world war, but because of a virus, but because of something we have to heal. This is going to cause us to change. It's calling on a message of healing. And this is not personal, but it is intimate to all of us. And is going to cause all of us to share in a journey of inner transformation, of awakening somehow, and it will bring out, hopefully, the very best in us and cause us to challenge the very worst in us, how frightened we are to let go of the familiar and move into what for all of us is going to be a very different world. And it will demand that we discover new resources in ourselves. We can't keep moving into this world without finding new parts of ourselves that we didn't know we had. That's what transformation's all about, everybody. That's what it's all about. And to that extent, when someone says we're all in this together, it's more than just being in this together. Just like the mystics, the mystics always taught, what is in one is in the whole. As we do to one, we do to everybody. These great teachings were not just things that Jesus and Buddha and the great teachers said. They were actual bio-spiritual, ecological truths. And now we're witnessing them. We're living them. It's really quite extraordinary. It's really quite extraordinary. Next week, next week or the week after, one of the two, I'm going to start Phoenix 3, which is on the soul rising. It's when you rise from the ashes. When we what is the power in us? What does transformation feel like in our blood and in our bones? What does the soul feel like when it awakens? What is that? What is this journey of why are we called to change? Why is life scripted around death and rebirth, new beginnings, the phoenix falling into the ashes and rising again? Why? Again, this is the history of humanity. This is the history of how we have been shaped and sculpted. This is how life has always been. And now it's our turn. Now it's our turn. So, as I always end with a prayer, when I think about all of this in holy cosmic terms, I'm quite astounded. No one could stop the world like this with a message of healing. But God, nobody. I mean, leave it to humans and we start wars. Leave it to God and the message is heal. So, thank you, everybody. Thank you.